Conservative leader doesn't want to talk about his failed Republican-style plan to shut down Parliament last week.
The Prime Minister's billion-dollar green slush fund scandal. We already know as well he forces 2 million Canadians to a food bank and doubled housing costs, is quadrupling the carbon tax. He has a billion-dollar fund whose own bureaucrats say reminds them of the sponsorship scandal, whose executives give money to their own companies. Yesterday, a courageous whistleblower testified the Prime Minister's Innovation Minister lied, and I quote, lied to the committee. Why is this minister and his boss, the Prime Minister, covering up this scandal and waste of Canadian tax dollars?
Not surprising that the Conservative leader doesn't want to talk about his failed Republican-style plan to shut down Parliament last week. All his 30-hour temper tantrum achieved was to show Canadians the party's true colors and cost Canadians $2 million in tax wasteful spending. The Conservative Party tried to cut affordable childcare, cut construction of affordable housing, and defund the police and Canada's armed forces. While they want to bring us back to the Stone Age, we'll stay focused on Canadians.
There's been explosive testimony by a whistleblower on this Prime Minister's billion-dollar green slush fund that's seen $150 million misappropriated and gone to Liberal insiders. And senior NDP Liberal government officials have said there is no plan to get Canadians back their missing millions. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, it's clear that he's not worth that cost, and probably why he wouldn't even stick around. Will the Prime Minister shut down the slush fund and get Canadians back their money?
It is shocking but not surprising to see the Conservative ideology in full display, Mr. Speaker. Now what you're saying, Mr. Speaker, is that the Conservative are willing to attack anyone and any institution that would fight for climate change, Mr. Speaker, even institutions that have been voted by the Parliament in 2001, Mr. Speaker. Now what the Conservative are doing, they're calling the integrity into question of one of the top accounting firms in this country, Mr. Speaker. We will fight for Canadians, we will fight for climate change, and we'll restore governance in that institution.
On this side of the House, what we're doing is fighting Liberal corruption. We're going to keep doing that, even though this minister and his chief of staff, though they say it didn't happen, were briefed on what was going on at SCTC, but it was done orally so that they wouldn't be subject to ATIP rules. It's $150 missing million given outside the funding agreement, and we have 2 Liberal-appointed board members who are under investigation by the Ethics Commissioner. We have an Auditor General investigation, and we have whistleblowers blowing the lid off this thing that shows that this minister and that Prime Minister don't have the courage to fight for Canadian tax dollars. Where are the missing millions? Who got rich?
On this side of the House, we will fight for Canadians every day, Mr. Speaker. Let's be very clear. What you're saying again, and for Canadians which are watching at home, don't be fooled. You're seeing Conservative ideology to fight against anyone, any institution, even those they voted for in 2001, Mr. Speaker, to create in this House an institution that would fight for climate change, Mr. Speaker. We suspended the funding of the organization. We called for an investigation. The leadership has resigned. We'll get to the bottom of this, Mr. Speaker.
Well, it's just not good enough that they won't deal with Liberal corruption at the Green Liberal Slush Fund. In fact, the minister took 35 months under his watch to suspend the Green Slush Fund when his own officials were in the meeting. And the whistleblower testified last night that the chair of the Green Slush Fund tried to get $2.2 million from the fund into her own vanity project, the Annette Basharian Centre, a direct conflict of interest. Since industry officials were in the meeting, why did the minister not fire this Liberal corrupt director the minute that happened?